All
And
right.
then,
Are we live yet? We
so
should
this is
be,
on
but it
YouTube, yeah?
doesn't. Yeah, we should be, but it doesn't say. So I'm just going to start talking. So, anyway, hello, everyone. Thank you for um, chatting and attending our chat tonight. I am here with our season 2 from Pencil Production winner, Justin Santos. How are you, Justin?
All is well, Mikkel. How are you doing? Thank God.
I am great. I am great. So I just want to dive right in. So what have you been up to? What have you been doing since the last time I saw you? I've been seeing some really cool things on your Instagram. So I know you've been doing a lot of stuff. So
Yeah.
spill it. What you been doing?
Um, so since Pencil Production, um, a lot has changed. I've been really just honing in on my craft, really just getting better with my skills, sewing every day, at least trying to sew every day, trying to sketch every day. I've been doing a lot of freelance work. I've been actually working with a lot of suits, menswear stuff, measuring, tailoring. I've been, trying to stretch my hands as far as I possibly can. Trying to learn everything I possibly can about this industry and just fashion, art, and putting out trying to put out my vision there. Really,
How's the freelancing? How's that?
it's good. It's great. I've been working with a couple brands, consulting with them about their design direction and things like that, and even putting some samples together for a
Nice.
couple companies. But it's been awesome because I don't have to, be tied down to anybody. Just whenever I could get some extra work in, I'm, right there consulting. Or it doesn't take too much of my time. So honestly, I love freelancing. It's pretty cool. It does get stressful sometimes, but just got to meet the deadlines and you know
Yeah. Yeah. I
have
love
to
it
get
too. It's
paid.
not for everybody, but
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's definitely, yeah, it's cool. I don't have to clock in or anything like that. So we could do whatever you want to do, but as long as we get paid and we putting out some good stuff, it's all good.
Yeah, that's always the part that was a little stressful, was making sure that after you did the work that people paid you.
Right,
Um, when I went through an agency and when I went through like bigger companies, you always got paid.
right,
It was the smaller companies that it was kind of like, oof, am I getting paid?
right,
But it really worked, and I'm glad that you're doing that. I think it works really well with a lifestyle of someone who is trying to develop their own brand, because it gives you extra money, for living and putting your money into your own stuff, but then also allows you to have your own time to work on your own stuff.
right. And that's
Yeah.
an important thing, like not being tied down to anything. So like, you could just do whatever you want to do as long as you work
Yeah,
put some
for
time to the
sure.
side, and the rest of the time is for myself, which
Yeah.
is great because trying to develop my own brand, my my mental capacity can only take so much. So everything
Right.
I'm getting inspired by the world, so I'm just trying to sort everything out and put it into my art, whether it's subconscious or like it's intentional. But you know,
Yeah.
it's a it's a good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal
Talk
for sure.
talk a little bit more about that, because I don't think that people really get the whole mental part of it. It's like,
Yeah.
I think that sometimes people feel like, "Oh, I'm creative and I can be creative all the time," but it's actually a lot more challenging than I think people realize. Be like,
Well,
always coming up with ideas and, finding inspiration and all of those things.
I think I really think it's like a balance of things because I over the last couple months since the top of 2023, I've been like just forcing myself to create something, whether and not forcing myself to create something, but more so first, if I can't think if let me just take it back. If I'm trying to make something and I feel like I'm forcing it, I'm forcing trying to put something cool out. The idea of cool, what you think is cool, you know what I'm saying? I just when I find myself in those type of moments where I'm struggling to make something or feel inspired to do something, I kind of just have to start doing like something creative. Just I'll sew a easy hat, like, oh, just sewing a hat, just sewing a hat and put it on my head, or my bandana masks or whatever. And that would just like start, it'll get the gears all greased up in my head. And I think
Hmm.
after just like sitting down and just having some fun, and it doesn't matter, then whatever comes next, is a good idea or whatever. It's sometimes it's you just have to you got to put the pen to the paper sometimes. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Right.
so it's
And
it's
just
kind of
work
like
with
just
it.
having fun with it at first, and then it's also sometimes inspiration sparks. So when inspiration sparks, it's like, oh my gosh, I have to do this idea right now. It's a big idea. I need to put it down. I need to make it into real reality right now. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit both. Like you have that moment where you need to put out that idea, or you just don't know, so you're just having fun with it. So I think it's that little balance that you need to keep as an artist, and not
Yeah.
too much pressure on yourself to create the next biggest thing. For sure, not.
Yeah. 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 For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what made you decide that you wanted to participate in From Pencil to Production?
Well, I thought it would be a great opportunity, working with some of the best professors in FIT, aka Mikkel. But also, I just thought it'd be a great opportunity to, put myself in that mental space of competing for, a prize, and especially it being fashion driven, business driven, seeing what contestants would do. You see these things on TV of rent the runway and all that type of thing. So I thought it'd be a really cool experience of just, being in that mindset and competing for the main prize. And it just like I felt like I was on TV. So, and then I saw the other. I don't think I knew the contestants until afterwards, but it was definitely once I got into it, the contestants really made it a big deal for me too, to keep going and getting better and competing, and you know seeing other people win and all that type of stuff. So I thought it was a great opportunity to just learn and get out my
Mhm.
comfort zone for sure.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, you could tell in the movies, in the videos, that I'm not the best. I wasn't the best like public speaker at all, especially like talking in front of the class, or talking in front of judges and people in the industry and all these things. Like it's a lot of anxiety that goes through it. So I think it really it really helped me a lot in that
I,
aspect as well.
yeah. I remember you saying how it was kind of hard to watch yourself.
Yeah.
And, but I think that it was really great to see that
Yeah.
because a lot of us have that same anxiety and we're
Mhm.
just not saying it. We're all just like, all right, we just gonna do it and blah blah blah.
Right.
Everybody's just too cool for school half the time.
Right.
And so it was nice to see someone show that side that like, oh my god, you know and then you won,
Yeah,
so it was
exactly.
like you were showing that side of yourself and you were showing all of the anxiety and the fear, for lack of a better term, that you were having about speaking and all the things that were going on. And then but you still brought it,
Right.
and everybody loved it. Everybody did. I asked PM this as well, and I'm going to ask you, how was it um competing against Caleb and PM, knowing you all are friends? How was that?
Um whether we said it or not, in classrooms, we'd see what the other person does, and it's like you trying to level up, like you got to, try to be better, like it, like their work, my work, their work, my work, that work. It's like it just keeps propelling you to get to the next level. It's just like being in an industry as well. Like you see what one designer is doing, and then you get inspired to do even better, or collaborate and doing things like that. So I think it really pushed me to get better, but also just being around them. They're very loving, and like supportive, and we're all
Mhm.
on the same boat here. So it's like, we're just having fun with it. And it didn't feel like a competition necessarily, because it just felt like we were just presenting good ideas to each other, talking like, we'd go to the back room and just talk about our ideas. And it's like we're working on a project, just like how we did it in FIT. We just like worked on projects together and talked about how we could do it better, or we'll give each other advice. And it's not like, it was never to like, it was never any shady things or anything like that. It was like
Mhm.
purely just to get each other better. So like we try to put out the best presentation possible, and nobody's stepping on each other's feet. So it's awesome working with them. Honestly, PM is amazing. Caleb is amazing, putting out beautiful work. So it's like, it's inspiring to work with them for sure. I hope they
Nice.
feel the same way, but it's like, we keep climbing the ladder. We find something that works, and they work, and then we all just keep getting to the next level. Like it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. PM expressed something very similar. I'm talking to Caleb next week. I'm sure he will
Oh my
express something
goodness.
very similar. Um,
Yeah.
but it's really nice to see that all of you, because all of you ended up being the semifinalists.
I know.
And as much as it was like, oh my gosh, I'm competing against my friends, I feel like you all were very supportive of each other. So it was kind of like, okay, no matter who wins, we're supporting you, we're bringing you up,
Yeah.
which is always really, really great.
Yeah, it's all love for sure. It's all love. Like, we all
Yeah.
have our own path, our own lane, and all that type of thing. So like we just want to put out the best that there could possibly be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what do you feel like were the lessons that you found most beneficial while you were participating? Like maybe things that you had not heard in school and that you are able to apply now to your business.
Um I feel like I took a big part from Natasha with like marketing. Um
Mm-hmm.
just trying to figure out a more creative way of, putting out your clothes, and having your clothes resonate with a group of people, like a certain niche of people, rather than just appealing to the masses of people, having a target audience. That was very important for me, because I essentially was just before just saying like, oh, my clothes are for everybody. And
Mm-hmm.
later on I learned that if your clothes are for everybody, it's for nobody, because
Right.
you don't have a group of people, you don't have a niche, so you're just targeting everybody, and nothing is really resonating with a like a core group of people. That was a
Right.
really, really important um lesson I've learned on the show. I
Mhm.
think even all the judges really, really showed me a different side of like the business side, or even the clothing brand side. Just being a little bit more strategic of putting out clothes, whether it be certain colorways that you want to put together, making it look cohesive, and really, I don't know, just making it more so cohesive, and like having everything planned out in a way. Because I would just be off the cuff, just sewing, like it. All right, sell it. Just
Yeah.
so it really helped me develop my brand on the business aspect of um, being organized, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, being organized, and just learning what my people like, and honing in on that type of that
Yeah.
that little
Yeah, I
essence.
think as creatives, we don't do as much planning as we probably should. We're just
Yeah,
like, it's cool, it's creative, I'm doing
yeah,
it,
yeah,
and it's almost like, yeah, it is, but I mean, who's buying that? You know?
exactly,
And
exactly.
then you just have a mishmash of stuff and nobody really knows you for any one thing.
Yeah,
So I'm glad that that was one of the lessons that you took because that's definitely an important one.
yeah.
Yeah. And you said I remember at the watch party you were saying that you had really spent like almost the last year really honing in and trying to figure out who that niche was, who was your customer, who was your tribe,
Right,
who were the people who were really interested in Vanderbilt.
right.
Yeah.
It was It took some time, but it was almost as if like it was in plain sight, but you don't want
Mhm.
to see it. It's like, oh, I want to make clothes for XYZ, but all my customers are coming from a background of streetwear and like, wearing, the latest releases of Jordans or whatever the case may be. So like it's like I'm as a designer, I'm already like I want to be making custom bespoke suits over here, but then my customer base is not even close to being in that realm. It's almost like it's two different brands. So it's kind of like
Mhm.
I have to dial back a little bit and then kind of guide them to that point. But you still
Mhm.
have to see where they are mentally, um, socially, money wise, like economically. You have to, understand that they're not necessarily going to go buy a suit right now because that's what you like. But you have to kind of dial it back because this your customer right now, all the main audience that I have gathered over the years kind of are a little bit of a younger generation. And you know they're not necessarily wearing suits yet, but they'll probably get there eventually once I start integrating it a little bit more into my collections. But it is important to know who the customer is, and I think meeting them halfway and trying to bring
Mhm.
them up with you as a designer, not just completely leaving them in the dust, because then
Yeah.
that's you lose their attention and they don't think that your brand is for them. For sure not.
Right. And then they just go somewhere else.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. This is kind of off the questions that I sent
Yeah,
you.
no
But
problem.
how much do you feel like you trying to guide your audience, how much does what you do and what you're posting, like your personal brand, how
Yeah,
much do you feel like that is playing into you trying to guide them towards that?
I definitely think it's going to take some time. Like obviously I would love to be doing like these high end and luxury stuff. I think it'll get there eventually, but it's kind of like I have to almost, make it fun for them too as well. I don't want to make it boring for them, but it's it's definitely a tricky question to, that's I'm still trying to figure out for sure. But it's kind of like I'm trying to make the next version of what they already love. So I started with the bandana hoods. Now I did the fur hoods. Now I'm doing like these puffer hoods. And I think it's just like, it's so funny to me because I would have thought about this months ago, but I felt like this is something I'm way past because I want to do other stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm doing the puffer hoods and it's like everybody's liking my post. Everybody's like, yo, tell me, yo, send me that, yo, when you dropping this? And it's like, I could have done this so long ago for you guys, but it was just like me trying to like learn and figure it out. So it's like, I was already there, but now I'm bringing it to you. So it's like, you kind of just have to give the customer what they want. But so the puffer hoods will lead into something else, into like small iterations until it's completely something new. It's like you ever see the design of an iPod shuffle and it's like it looks a certain way and then every generation it gets so much sleeker and much easier to use, but
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the original one was what they fell in love with and then they made small iterations to get to the future iPod, and now it's like just the most simplest thing ever. So it's like,
Yeah.
originally they probably wouldn't have loved something that had no buttons, but now it has no
Right.
buttons, so now you love it. They guided them to that point.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
it's the same thing with fashion too, for sure.
It definitely is. It definitely is. I mean, it's like your iteration, and it's funny. I'm glad that you're getting this now because it took me much longer to get there. Like I was kicking and screaming for a very long time
Yeah,
when my supervisors were saying, "Okay, we have to like just give them a little bit each season because if
yeah,
you go from this to something way over here, the buyer's just going to shut down and be like, no, I can't do it.
yeah. Because it's
Like
like
they don't get
they're
it.
they're afraid. It's like it's so different for them to accept something new. So it's like
Hmm.
they're not necessarily there yet, you know what I'm saying, mentally or whatever. They're just not there yet. So like you really have to just slowly turn it into what you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
And it really is like a big lesson to learn. I think just like when you find a good idea, like, and making it slowly changing it up for them to digest a little bit easier.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy when you finally get to that point and you're like, yeah, okay.
Right,
You know,
right.
when you finally realize, all right, well, we'll
Yeah,
give them this small little thing.
yeah,
And then towards the end of my time at Haynes, I kind of got to the point where I was sort of like the product person talking to the designers and having to have this same conversation with them and kind of
yeah.
talk them off the ledge and be like, okay, do you want this to be in? Or do you want them to drop it completely? Let's just give them a pocket,
Right,
you know,
right, right,
go give
right.
them the pocket and the zipper and the this and the that and the, you know. And then I couldn't believe like this was me saying that because just, 3, 4 years ago, I was like, no, like if they want this, this is dope. I can't believe it, but so
Yes,
good lesson to learn, very
yeah,
important
sure.
lesson to learn. And I'm glad that you are learning it much earlier than I am.
Thank you.
Now you mentioned on Instagram that, and you probably touched on this already, but you were saying how it kind of changed your perspective on business as a creative. So can you share how that happened or
Yeah,
how
sure.
it's changed your perspective?
Yeah, so um I feel like, just as a creative, we just like to, have fun and make stuff, whether it's going to sell or not. Like we are it's very I feel like being an artist and being a business person are two different sides of a spectrum. Like they
Mm-hmm.
are complete polar opposites. Because a creative has no boundaries. We like to create. We like to flow. Like we like to be free. And then a business person, a business is the opposite. It's strategic. It's hitting due dates. It's on time. It's we have a set schedule. We have to have 5 looks for December 1st. We need to have all this on a date. So it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of like a creative needs to it's kind of like you have to be two people in a way, because or you need a business partner or something like that, because
Yes.
you need to have it's hard to put. It's almost like you have to split your brain in two. Like literally, like as a creative, I'm just working, having fun, creating, just have you have to get into the mind space mind state as an artist that time doesn't exist. Like literally, you have to don't worry about what's in today, what's in tomorrow, what was in yesterday. You just have to you let it out. Same thing like painting abstract painting. You don't worry really too much about what somebody else likes.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets very contradictory, whatever. I don't even know if I'm saying the right word, but it's like it contradicts itself, because now you have to take all those ideas and things that you've worked on in a month and all that stuff. Now you have to start putting it on the calendar, or you have to start figuring out from manufacturers if this is possible, if we could do this in this time and this date and all this
Yeah.
stuff. So you're splitting. I'm literally like have to schedule a day like in my day, I have to at 12 o'clock business, after 12 o'clock party. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like it kind being on the show really allowed me as a creative to be more in a business mind state of um targeting somebody, creating for somebody, um you know marketing towards somebody, just having, not just making stuff mindlessly, but just being mindful of who I'm making my brand for. So that was one of the big things I took away from being on the show, like just taking all these ideas, sifting through it for who already loves my brand, and then taking it forward, putting it out, pricing it out, getting it manufactured, and making all the P's and Q's, dot my I's, cross my T's. So
Yeah.
it is a big hurdle to get over, but once you get focused and delegate some time to be an artist, you got to delegate some time to be a business, and
Yeah.
vice versa, for sure.
Yeah. John always talks about how sometimes he has to put his producer hat on.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
once he's doing that, he's like, okay, I'm setting up a time, and this is how much time we have, blah, 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 And then when he puts his creative hat on, it's like he's writing and he's
Mhm.
directing and he's shooting the videos and, he's being a lot more creative.
Yeah,
And he talks a lot about how challenging it can be. I was saying to him the other day that I never really understood why a lot of designers who establish brands look for a CEO, because
right,
I'm like, it's your brand. Don't you want to be the CEO?
right.
But I realize now a big part of that is because they don't want to deal with any of that business stuff. They just want to be creative, right?
Yep.
And the CEO is the person who has to like put their foot down and sit in all of those meetings and be strategic and do all the planning and all of those things that we talk about within from pencil production,
Yeah,
that as a creative you don't necessarily want to do, but
yeah.
as a small design brand you have
You
to
have
do
to.
it. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because nobody's gonna do it for you. So, you
Right.
know, months are gonna go past, and you're just still doing, the same thing, like just creating stuff, and there's no plan.
Right.
You have to have a plan at least.
Right. And I think that all of you can get to that point where you can hire a CEO.
Right,
It's the getting to the point where you can. And
right,
for a lot of people it's a few years, several years before you can get to that point. And so you have to train yourself to navigate your brand and think that way until you can get to the point where you can have somebody else take over all that stuff that you don't want to do. And
right.
and you can just be creative all day long,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
what we all want to do. But if this is what you're saying, you want to support yourself and have a business with your own brand, you kind of have to
have
have
to.
some time, some CEO time, as
Yeah.
my trainer, my old trainer once told me, have CEO time.
I
What
feel.
do you think? Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh no, I said I understand. Like I feel that for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So what did you think was the hardest thing about being on the show?
Hardest thing.
And what was the most fun?
Okay, hardest thing I would say for me personally was honestly just going out and presenting. Well, that was one of the big parts because I feel like as the person I am, I'm never the one that's gonna yap all about myself ever. Like, oh, this is why I am this, and this, and this is why I'm this. And it's not a bad thing. It's just I always just thought my work could speak for itself. Like, oh, that looks so cool. Like, whatever. Just having you look at my work and you judge it for yourself. You have your own thing about it, but just having to just going out and explaining my brand to you guys, like what it's about, really put into perspective for myself of what I'm trying to do as well, because for a very long time I just knew, like I felt like I knew what I was doing, like, or who I was targeting, all that stuff, but until you put it out on paper, which was really really difficult part, uh it really made me realize what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Who am I selling to? Oh, I don't know how I just did that. Um, who am I selling to, or you know, what my brand stands for? What range of, how is it priced out, and all these things, my colorway or my aesthetic, my the vibe of my brand. It was very hard for me to put it into words. I felt like I remember preparing for the finale, and it's like I should know these things already. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
been doing it for some time, and it's so weird. Like I'm trying to describe my customer to them, and I'm losing the words for it because I know them. Like they're my friends. They're me. They're people I hang out with, the people I gravitate towards at the club or when I'm out networking and things like that. But why can't I tell you who they are. I just know them, you know. It's
Right.
like, oh, but these certain people are into Margiela and these people are into Nike and things like that. It was hard to put it into words. That was a very hard part, was putting it into words. So I think that was one of the hardest parts of being on the show, is just explaining the art and explaining my brand and develop. It helped me develop, for sure, helped me develop my entire, my entire plan, my customer base, my target audience and things like that. But it didn't come easy at all. I felt like I was preparing for these shows like for 2 3 days, just like really just reading over and trying to find the right words and the right words to use for my customers. So it took a lot of preparation, and it was very nerve wracking for sure. So I think, um, it was very nerve wracking. So, you want to present the best work, and, everybody there, everybody competing is working towards the same goal, and everybody's fighting for the same prize. So, just competing against people that you have a lot of respect for, and, just getting to the next round is very hard. So I think all those combined into one is just, it really just developed me as a person into, ultimately really got me to the next step, because I feel like now I have a better sense of talking to people, being
Hmm.
on camera, even on social media. I'm just like, I've never been a social media person. Like, I always just like take my picture of my stuff and be like, you like it, you don't, I don't care. But now I talk into my camera, I'm like working out, designing for my TikTok and all that stuff. So like now I'm starting to talk on my TikTok, and I just felt like I never was comfortable with talking, because I always thought it was weird, like talking on to social media. Like, who am I talking to? Like, I'm talking to a camera. But it just made it all easier for me after the show. It made it a whole lot easier, and I think I worked through some mental blocks being on the show of, um, presenting, being able to explain yourself, being comfortable explaining myself, and all that type of stuff. So I think it really developed my character for sure, being on the show.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
the fun part, I would say, um, I mean, there's a lot of fun parts. Um, I think the ones you probably don't want to hear is like going to the back room and going to the back room and just letting our emotions out on the judges. You know what I'm saying? Now, we never said anything too crazy, but, just like we'd get me, PM, and Caleb would get on the call and be like, "Yo, man, like he really." We'll just be talking, like, just having fun, just making fun of you guys, like just
PM
trying to
was
release
said the same thing.
our
He was like, the confessionals was my favorite part.
professionals are fun, yeah, for sure. So I think, just having fun, like being like the confessionals, like we try. It's a whole lot of fun, and even just like putting your mind into a perspective of like thinking you're on a show, and like really, like it's almost like, you see these things on like 40-day bachelor or whatever, 30-day bachelor or something like that.
uh,
You see them talking like, I really like her. So it's like you're doing the same thing. It's like so much fun. It's like you're on a movie for sure. So I think just having fun, just it was really fun, just like going through the challenges and experiencing that with your peers, like the
mhm.
challenges, and especially when the challenges came like out of nowhere. Like, we before the contest started, we would try to look at the last episode from last season and be like, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. Natasha's gonna be on today. We're doing this. And then we'll like have a whole thing prepared already. And then you guys, you know what? Make us a restaurant. Or I forgot what the first challenge was. I was like, oh my gosh, what the hell? So just like, just like working through it, and like, just at the end of the day, not stressing out too much. So, you had fun at the end of the day. It
Good.
was definitely it was definitely a really
Good.
lovely experience to be on the show for sure.
Good. Well, that was my last question was, I take it was a positive experience being on the
It for
show.
sure was.
And would you recommend it to other fashion creatives?
I would 100% recommend it to fashion creatives in general, but fashion creatives, yes, because the amount of trial and error that you go through the show and just trying to be on this 30-minute jam packed of thinking of a whole business plan and sketching out something in 30 minutes, and it just feels so surreal, like almost like this is not possible. And then when the time is up and you have to go back to the show, it's like, oh my gosh, I just did that. It just like I didn't even think it was possible. And you keep pushing yourself to be a contender in the show. And it's something that you'll definitely 100% learn from. It'll definitely get you to another level that you never thought you would get to, and it'll push you out your comfort zone. So I would do the show 1,000 times if I could. So I would definitely recommend it to the next people in line for sure.
Awesome.
It'll get you to where you want to go.
Awesome. 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 Well, that is a great note to end on. And thank you, thank you, thank you again, Justin, for coming and chatting with me and
No
all
problem.
the people who are watching and listening. And yeah, I'm glad it was a positive experience. It sounds like you got a lot out of it and that you're doing some really cool things now. And I wish you much luck. I'll be watching Instagram, of course.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, that's it. So good night. We will see you next week. Caleb will be on next week. So make sure you tune in then. Also, the deadline to enter from Pencil Production for season 3 is coming up. It's next Saturday. So if you want to be in this great competition, make sure that you get your entry in by that time. But yeah, thank you so much, Justin. Have a great night.
Love you,
Bye,
Michelle.
everybody.
I'll see you soon.
Yes, you will.
So should I leave the studio or what? Or are we gonna talk in the
Yes.
back?